Let me bring Congressman Glenn Ivey in on this, a Democrat from Maryland, see what he makes of all this and some of the other news of the days on the Homeland Security Committee, Judiciary, and Ethics as well. Good to have you on the program, Congressman. If I could start on immigration and just move on after that, I think it is interesting to see the president reportedly considering a plan, as John and I were talking about, that the Trump administration put forward, something very similar back in 2018, and Democrats weren't a big fan then. Are you now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that your prior interview there, I really think points it out. You know, he needs the resources to take the big steps that are needed to fix the big problems that are going on at the border. The Republicans in the House, at least, were saying all year long that that's what they needed, that we needed big fixes. But they've left him with nothing but possible, you know, these kind of Band-Aid alternatives there that are going to face legal challenges and probably lose. So my sense is that Congress should not be let off the hook on this. We should be getting back in session as fast as possible to deal with this emergency and some of the other ones that we have. And we need to move something like the bipartisan Senate bill. Doesn't have to be that specifically, but something that takes a bigger approach to fixing these problems and providing the resources that are needed.
I know the Republicans were the ones that killed that, and we talked about that a moment ago, that bipartisan bill that you're referencing, but would you have supported it?
Probably. I mean, there were some things that I didn't love about it, but there were certainly some, you know, the overall need to move something forward. And I think I said this on your show before. Yeah. You know, let's get it on the floor at least and start thinking about amendments. You know, let's have votes. Give us an up or down vote on a package that could take us in the direction of fixing these kinds of things. Might like some of it, might not like all of it. But let's do something big that addresses the size of the problem that everybody's saying that we've got right now.
And when we talk to people there that are in the middle of it, like we had the sheriff on the other day, we've had him on a lot, Cochise County, Arizona, Mark Daniels, he says, you know, the federal government's got to do more. They feel, or he feels, I think, that like they're hanging out there on their own. I want to play for you what he said, and then you can react to it. But here's Sheriff Daniels earlier this week with us.
We feel lonely down here in Cochise County, too, because our federal government has abandoned border security for immigration processing, which has made our citizens vulnerable, made our state vulnerable, made our country vulnerable.
What would you say to him, Congressman, on that issue? He says, yeah, we feel lonely. We feel like we've been abandoned.
Well, one of the things we've been pushing for is additional Border Patrol agents. I mean, one of the thoughts, and I thought had been bipartisan at some point, but that obviously fell apart when the Republicans blocked the Senate bipartisan bill. Let's get more agents on the border so we can, you know, address the problems that we've got. The work that they have to do, the number of people they have to deal with, the services that they have to provide have jumped dramatically, but we haven't really increased the numbers to keep up with that. Same with judges to hear these cases. I mean, the backlog we've got is multi-year now. We need more judges to try and move that forward. So resources are clearly a problem. We heard Republicans in the House backing away from that last week so they could avoid voting for something to get it done. But everybody that's down there says we need more resources to address the problem, and we should get those to them.
I just want to shift topic just for a minute. I appreciate all your time on the border, and I know, like you said, it's an important topic. And talk about this this cell phone story earlier today. I was curious to see what you think of it. AT&T was the hardest hit, but these outages were nationwide. A lot of people, thousands of people had their cell phone service go out and say, well, okay. But it does, it seems, as we try to figure out, we're going to have a report right after you get off the air on the latest on this. We try to figure out what happened. It seems it would raise some concerns possibly about national security. Whatever happened here, do you think our infrastructure, or our communications infrastructure, is ready for a cyber attack or these cyber concerns? And do you know anything about this specific story?
I haven't heard about the particulars here yet, but these are exactly the types of things that the Homeland Security Committee should have been looking at instead of wasting time on the Mayorkas impeachment. These sorts of vulnerabilities to cyber attacks, I think, are something the United States isn't doing enough to get prepared for. And when you watch what Russia is doing with respect to Ukraine, you can see that those capabilities are increasing. Same with respect to China and Iran. So I think Congress needs to be doing more. We need to shift our focus away from, frankly, a lot of waste of time sort of work, the investigations, the impeachments, and all that, and get focused on protecting the country.
Well, what
The
would the
election's
role of
coming up too.
government
It's
be, do you
another big
think,
one, by the
in
way.
this? And what would the role of government be in a situation like this? Because, you know, I think about emergency first responders and people calling 911 and all that kind of thing. But what could government do to protect us, make things like this less dangerous, would you say?
Well, I think there's, first of all, what we need to do is do an assessment and make sure we understand all of the threats that are potentially out there. And remember that the threats are evolving radically and quickly, especially to the extent they're starting to integrate AI capabilities. We've got to make sure that we're changing and protecting ourselves and moving as quickly as those threats are. And then the second piece is making sure that the providers out there, some will be commercial, some will be governmental, but they need to make sure that they understand what these threats are and they're prepared for them and they're working together in a coordinated way, and that they have the resources to do it. And we're just not doing enough on that front, frankly.
Congressman Glenn Ivey, we appreciate your time once again. Thanks for coming on the show.